Re-entering orbit. Re-entry confirmed. And he finishes it on the volley. Strike! Goal! What a strike! Right
Enterprise, your advantage.
And Ghana drives it forward. Brilliant footwork down the flank. Cutting past the defence with ease. He's lining up for the shot. He strikes it with absolute power. Oh, goodness me. That was gone high. Way too high. It's climbing and climbing. Unbelievable scenes here. You simply cannot write a script like this. He shot the ball right out of the atmosphere. Can you believe it?
Enterprise, your advantage.
And Ghana drives it forward. Brilliant footwork down the flank. Cutting past the defence with ease. He's lining up for the shot. He strikes it with absolute power. Oh, goodness me. That was gone high. Way too high. It's climbing and climbing. Unbelievable scenes here. You simply cannot write a script like this. He shot the ball right out of the atmosphere. Can you believe it?
Need insurance for your car and home? You can call on us.
Wait, it's coming back. It's re-entering orbit. Re-entry confirmed. And he finishes it on the volley. Strike! Goal! What a strike! Right
Enterprise, your advantage.
The liability way for outsiders. So we don't want to restrict teams on customers and others. So let's move. Everybody's meeting.
So I'm coming to.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome once again to our Smart Talk webinar, Enterprise Insurance series of frank, practical conversations about the risks that matter most to you and everyone in your family. I'm Oheniwa Amoafo Asante, Head of Customer Experience with Enterprise Insurance, and today I have the honorable privilege of moderating what I believe will be one of the exciting and very important discussions we'll be having on this platform yet. Okay, we are live on all our handles by way of information. We are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn, Facebook. So whenever you are joining us from, please let us know, drop a comment, and let's give you a shout out. Once again, you're welcome. To introduce today's webinar, I want to ask a quick question. When was the last time it rained heavily in your neighborhood? And your thought was, for a second, I hope my house is okay. I hope everything is fine. You're calling your kids to find out everything is okay at home. You're calling family. You are just thinking because you don't know what is happening at home. Ghana has recorded about 500 flood incidents between 2019 and 2025, just in our major cities, maybe Accra, Kumasi, and Tafade. And no one has been left. Homes are being destroyed. People's assets are just going down the drain. Families are displaced. Yet very few of us have a cover, some sort of protection for our homes and our contents in those homes. So the gap between the risk that we all face and then the protection that is going to carry us through is what we are here to discuss today. Okay, so we have some great panelists here with us today, and we have Karen Halm and then Clement Baffour. Let me introduce Karen to us. Karen Halm is a co-founder, the chief operating officer, and principal architect at Spectra Global. Spectra Global is a Ghanaian architecture and design firm with operations in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, with over 2 decades of experience in the building space. She has led the design and delivery of residential, commercial, institutional, hospitality, and mixed use development across West Africa. Her work spans building architecture, urban development, and project implementation. Karen holds a Master of Architecture Design from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and she has served as a lecturer in the Department of Architecture at the Central University. As an advocate for thoughtful and sustainable design, her work explores the relationship between the built industry, climate challenges, infrastructure, and the quality of life of the people who occupy our cities. She's passionate about helping individuals, communities, and policymakers rethink the way we design and build to create healthier, more resilient, and more sustainable urban environments. Once again, Karen, you are welcome to Enterprise Smart Webinar. Our second panelist is Mr. Clement Baffour. Thank you very much. Our second panelist is Mr. Clement Baffour. Clement is part of the True Blue family. He's an insurance professional with experience in risk management, claims management, property risk assessment, and insurance advisory. He has worked across various sectors, providing expertise in risk transfer solutions, loss assessment, and business continuity planning. Clement is also very passionate about promoting insurance awareness and helping individuals and businesses better understand how effective risk management and insurance protection can enhance financial resilience. We will be sharing insights on the role of insurance in managing flood risks, property damage, and protection solutions available to homeowners and business owners. Clemens, great to have you with us.
Thanks so much. Anita.
So, to start with our discussion, we'll have Madam Karen give us some insights into her space. Karen, you're welcome.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Clement and Co, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. As a person and as a company, we've interfaced with enterprise on different levels, and I'm happy to be here to share some insights with your audience. So today, can I share my screen now?
Yes, you can, Karen. Please go ahead.
Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, please, is it clear? Is it visible to everyone?
Not yet. We're trying to get that through.
Okay.
Okay, Karen, please, can you reshare for us this? Kindly reshare
Okay.
again.
Is it visible yet?
I think we're having a challenge with your sharing. You can just go through. I'm sure we'll connect with what you're giving to us today. So you can just go through whilst you try to work on the technical.
Okay, let me try another way. Let me try another way.
Wait, we have you now. We have the screen now.
Oh, you do?
So please put it in presentation mode. Yes, it's up now. Kindly put in
Okay.
presentation mode so it's clearer for all of us. Thank
All
you.
right. We are good?
Yes, we're good.
Excellent. All right. All right. So I'm here this afternoon to speak with you. Please use the presentation mode or you are seeing my presenter mode.
No, I'm seeing your slides. So if you can put it on presentation mode.
Okay. All right. So sorry about the hitch, guys. So I'm here to speak with you about flood, property damage, and insurance, and really what everyone should know with respect to the built environment or with respect to your properties. You know, the thing with flooding in Accra is that it is not new. It has been like something that has been constantly recurring every year. And yet, for some reason, every year we seem surprised. So we have a whole year to fix whatever it is that needs to be fixed. We don't lift a finger. The following year comes, it floods even worse. We lose property, we lose lives. Um, Properties are damaged and stuff like that. And then we act surprised as if we didn't know the rains were coming. As to
Exactly.
why, it still beats my imagination. Accra does not flood because it rains. No. Accra floods because of how we have built the city. It floods because of how we have built our properties. It floods because of how we channel water. So Accra itself has been created as a basin, okay, that has a lot of wetlands, lagoons, natural drainage condition corridors and stuff like that. That we even have a whole community or neighborhood called Jowulu. Jowulu simply means that the deep drain. Okay, now you don't even have anywhere near drainage when it comes to like Jowulu can't be seen as a deep natural drain anymore. It's very, very heavily developed with high-end properties and stuff. We've had Koli Lagoon, Sango, Sakumono, and all of those things. And we have built as close to them as possible, and we are still building. So every year we are faced with roof runoff, compound flooding, streets flooding, where people lose their cars, their businesses, and of course, there are further repercussions of um, death and fire and so on and so forth. And of course, we know about the block drain. And then as for nature, it will always find its course. You know, as an architect, there's a principle we work with, right? So similar to a doctor who knows the bloodstream, okay, how the bloodstream works. A doctor does not work against the bloodstream. She knows how it already moves and she just works with it. Water is no different, whether we appreciate it or not. Every flood intervention that will ever work long term has to follow the same principle. Water will always find its own course. It will always take its own path. What we are to do as people living on earth is to find dignified and useful and safe paths for the water to flow. The
Yeah.
more we intercept the flow of water, the more endangered we are putting our own lives and property. So flood resilience is not about being stronger than water. That's not even a smart thing to aim at. It is about being smarter about where the water goes and how we are going to make the city function well, how we're going to make the people safe, and how we are going to make the city look good with the water still flowing where it wants to flow. So today I'm going to share with you protection on three different levels. I'm going to look at how to protect your house or your plot, which is well within your control. I'm going to share with you on how to deal with the neighborhood protection, and then how we're going to look at our cities. You and I can do something about our house or our plot. We can do something about our neighborhoods. In our city, it goes a lot beyond that because then you are talking about large scale policy and planning. You are looking at ecological decisions, and it's a governmental issue. So let's look at your house or your plot. This one, you can deal with it yourself. So how how do you hold your reign on your own plots as much as you can? So there are some things that we need to look at before we even buy, right? So a lot of us in the corporate institutions, the banks, the insurance companies, and so on and so forth, you have the HR managers coming to you with oh, there's land being sold here and there's land being sold there. So we want to go as a team to buy the land, da 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 da. And of course, the HR department, they are helping you because what they are doing is supposed to be saving you a lot of time, right? But then, whether you are here as an HR manager or an ordinary person who wants to buy land, before you buy, read the land in the wet season. Read the land in the wet season. So when you're going to buy land, don't just visit the place in the Hamatan when the place is dry, everything is spick and span. No, not in December. But try and visit the land during July, during August, during September, when we are in the rainy season. A low plot that looks affordable may be sitting in the natural flow path. A lot of times when we are buying land, for example, we look at the cheaper one and then we forget about these other factors, about safety, about rain, about even the neighborhood and so on and so forth. So please, well, before you buy any land or before you buy any even developed land, maybe you are going to buy a house in a gated community or whatever, read the land during the wet season. And then question suspiciously the cheap plots. So where everybody is selling land for less than $50,000, and then someone comes and says that, oh, I'm selling it for $5,000 or 50,000 CDs. The person says that, oh, with $5,000, with 5,000 CDs, you can buy land, and even that you have 3 years to pay. Guys, if it's too good to be true, then a lot of times it is actually too good to be true. All right. So don't just follow the cheap and low prices. What happens is that you're able to buy the land. Yes, you have your name on the document, but you will spend the rest of your life paying the difference and more. And then never build in a water course. A seasonal stream that hasn't run in years. So sometimes they'll say that, oh, Hana is your the how, but I'm saying and shed and flow view. Nature has not forgotten that it made a provision there.
Yeah.
So don't think that, oh, because the river or the stream has dried up because of climate change, it means that the water will not come back again. When it comes to the crunch, the water will find its way back to what the provision was made for it. All right. And then, of course, bring in a professional early. Site survey before you purchase costs less than a fraction of the value of the land itself. But a lot of times you try to, in quotes, be smart and avoid these checks. When you're going to buy a car, for example, you don't just get up and write the check. A lot of times we go with a mechanic. That's if you're buying a used car, you go with a mechanic to make sure that everything is okay. If you're a wife and you don't know the details about automobiles, you go with your husband, your brother or father or something to make sure that everything is okay. So how is it that when we are buying land, we just want to go with our two naked eyes because we are refusing to pay a surveyor, because we're refusing to pay a geotech engineer, right? Now, how to protect your house or your plot in the design phase is that one of the things you can do is raise the finished floor level. Raise the finished floor level. So sometimes, because we are trying to run away from the amount of money we spend on filling, we let the foundation be as low as possible, thinking that, oh, we are cutting maybe 2 trips of laterite off. We are saving some 6 trips of laterite. Yeah, you finish building the structure all right, but then you'll be scooping water out of your house every year. So if you look at the picture on the right, this is an example of someone who is building and they have raised the plinth. And if you look at the method that we've used here, you realize that they didn't even fill the bottom, right? So even if there's water coming, the water can still flow without sweeping the property away. Another thing you can do, a lot of times also, because when we live in homes and we are very busy people, we try to make the house as maintenance free as possible. So then we end up doing a lot of landscaping, a lot of hard landscaping. So a lot of gravels, a lot of pavements, because we don't want to now have to bring in a gardener to come and mow the lawn and water and all of those things. What we fail to realize is that we are making our land impermeable to water. we are making our land impermeable to water. So when the water comes, it will just sit on your land because you've concreted everywhere. It has nowhere else to go. Right? It's not just about the putting of the chippings on the ground, but because we don't want the grass to go through it, we layer it with various damp-proof membranes, polythenes, and so on and so forth, because we don't want the grass to come out. And then the rain comes, and then we have to tread water before we go into our homes. Another thing we can do is, even if you want to pave, make the paving permeable. Okay, leave some patches in there that when the rains come, the water can actually percolate and go into the ground. Otherwise, it will just sit there and will be a nightmare for you. Now, another thing you can do is also read the land, right? Read the land. Let the land speak to you. So, assuming the opportunity comes during the dry season, for example, and you can't wait till June or July before you make a commitment, otherwise you lose the land, for example. A very strategic thing you can do is look at the kind of plants that are growing on the land naturally. Naturally. So that if you have land that you have things like raffia palm, reed, lilies, a lot of palm plants, for example, and they all look green, even though we're in the dry season, it means that the land is susceptible to water. Now, it doesn't always mean that it will flood. No, it could also mean that the water table is high,
Okay.
right? So you need to investigate to find out which is which. Okay, you need to investigate and find out which is which. Another thing that we can also do is when you are going to buy the land, for example, check also the water lines in addition to the plants. See whether there's any development around, and check see whether there are any water lines on the properties that already exist. Just check their fence walls. All right, just check from the base up. See if there's any water lines there. Don't think that as for you, your construction will be so solid that it will beat the water. No, these are all messages the land is giving to you, right? So please don't ignore it. And also listen to the news around the area. So maybe you're going to buy land at, I don't know where, but it seems like maybe Santor or whatever. I don't know whether Santor floods. It's just a name that came into my mind. And you realize that every year Santor comes into the news about flood. Why on earth will you go in and buy land in that area now? Don't just follow the price. When that area has been in the news every year about flooding, don't say that's where I got. Are you willing to hustle every year with floods? Okay. And then your neighborhood, what can you do? Maybe you can rally one or two of your neighbors, or maybe your street, to come together and do communal distilling. I remember when we were kids, we used to do this a lot. Maybe some Saturdays in a month, the whole neighborhood will come together, will dislodge the gutters, burn rubbish, kind of clean up the community. But these days, it's like we are so polished that we don't want to keep our environments polished anymore. So we all get up, sit in our air-conditioned cars, and off we go. And then comes the rains, and our cars are floating in our compounds, right? Another thing we can do is to protect low ground as green space. This is one we don't do well. And this one is the city authorities that are supposed to keep the watchful eye. Why give permits to a property when you know the property is going to be sited in a low-lying vicinity or land that is even being earmarked as a green space, right? And connect the drains. So if, let's say, when you went into the neighborhood, there were some drains, maybe it's on the other side of the road. On your side of the road, there's no drain, all right? Or maybe your neighbors have drains, but those two drains are not being connected because you haven't developed your property. Don't just leave it like that. When you develop your property, connect the drains. Create some drainage from your house and connect it the space in front of your house. Even if it means you have to cross the street to the other side, do that. These are little on the let's say forward loading investments that saves us a lot of hassle and gives us peace of mind and make waste everyone's business. So when you are just going for a walk or something and you see some small girl eat his or her yogurt and then throws the polythene in the gutter, don't just watch unconcerned. All you need is several other people doing the same thing, and voila, your neighborhood comes into the news. That even though the houses that are so expensive, like what is happening in Tema now, even though Tema is a place that never flooded, but this
Yeah.
year we had flooding areas, and personally I was shocked because I'm like, Tema forever has been the most planned city in West Africa
Yes.
since the Pumas time. So even when it rained, you will not even, I mean, it rains and you get out of the house and it's as if nothing happened because everything is gone. But this year, we had communities in Tema flooding, right? So the question is, what are we waiting for? If our only well-planned city in the whole of West Africa is beginning to experience floods, what are we waiting for? Now, our city really, it's the job of the planning authorities. Individual architects and myself and planners and well-meaning Ghanaians, we can only speak up, right? But when the one who's supposed to collect the rubbish refuses to do so, when the one who's supposed to make sure that the bridge is working has refused to do so, when the one who is supposed to make sure that they are going around and checking who has put a structure where and whether it's legal, and even if it's illegal, they turn a blind eye, there isn't so much we can do. Okay, so what we have to do as a city is to restore our wastelands and lagoons. We have to enforce existing planning rules. In every city, there are areas that on paper have been planned that no property is supposed to be developed there. It's all on paper. But when you look at the paper and what is on the ground, there is a very sharp difference, right? We have to maintain our drains every year, and we are to design for climate change because it will come. So the two layers of protection you need. The first one is design and maintenance, and then the second one is financial protection and insurance. Design and maintenance. So this one stops and slows the water before it reaches your structure. Those are things that you can do on your level to slow the water impacting your structure. If you look at the image on the screen, you realize that yes, it has some hard landscape, but then it also has quite a bit of soft landscape. So a house like this, it will take quite a bit for it to become a lagoon with their cars floating inside, right? And then secondly, raise finished floor levels, like I've said. Spend just a little more for your future peace of mind. So there was this property we are developing, and when we went to do the survey, we realized that on that whole stretch, right, the people have done like ramps at the gate. And then right next to the site that we are supposed developing, we just had a conversation with the tenant or the occupant of that property, and we're like, oh, so what are some of the challenges on the street? What are some of the challenges in the neighborhood? And we're like, madam, whenever it rains, my house gets flooded. So then we took a particular look at this guy's house. And we're like, look, your house is sitting down too low. Because where the whole thing has been designed such that the road itself is sloping towards your land, you have to lift the building before you even start putting in your block work. But this person built as though he was on a hill. Of course, when the rains come, it's not good. It's not going to be a sweet story for you. All right. Another thing is I've talked about the permeable surfaces, forgiving materials, and raise critical fittings, reduce damage when water does enter. So, for example, if you know that's where you have bought your land, maybe you've already done the investment, you are here, you are listening, you've already bought it, you've actually already started your property. Now, what are you going to do, right? Some of the things that you can do is for the safety of yourself and your family, all your electrical sockets, for example, cannot be at the, in quote, normal height that a regular house can be at. It has to go above the established water level or historical water level, so that in case of emergency, your house does not get electrocuted and you don't get in trouble with, you don't lose your family as well. Okay. And then another thing you can do is create sumps around the house where the water can kind of flow into, like a sump is like, in quote, a well of a sort, right? So you create the sumps maybe around the four corners of the house, like deep trenches, and then you create drainage towards those sumps, all right? So that when it rains, the water finds its level to those sumps, and then over time the ground will soak it away, all right? Another thing is, when you live in a house that is on a flood prone area, for example, as soon as it starts raining or you realize the water starts coming up, please turn or switch off your electricity from the mains. Switch off. Don't say that, oh, it's raining and I want to catch up on my latest TV, so let me keep the light on just to watch some TV. No, safety first. All right. Now, in terms of financial protection, the financial and the insurance that we give to our properties, it recovers what is lost. It doesn't necessarily prevent it. The prevention is where you are doing you do join your design, your construction, and your maintenance culture. Okay. But if all these fail and the property is still damaged, it is a very wise thing to have property insurance. Because why would you build $100,000 house? I mean, if you want a house like this that I'm showing is obviously way more than $100,000, and that is even minus the land. Why will you make such an investment and not cover it? Your property has to be covered. It doesn't, you don't, like, we insure our cars sometimes because of the law, but really think about it. Assuming fire happens to your property, for example, and you are like what, in your 50s, and this property is not insured, how exactly do you intend to rebuild when your like very productive years, and because a lot of us in Ghana, we build bit by bit, right? So let's say you spend a decade or 5 years to build this house. Just in a couple of hours, fire guts this whole thing and you have no backup. If you're not careful, heart attack alone will kill you. But at least if you know that the property is insured, you know that, okay, once my family and I are safe, we can get the building back, right? So what I do, right, is if I'm insuring a property, I get a valuer and I let the valuer value the future rate of the property. So for example, if I spend $100,000 in building the house, and it's valued at $150,000, I will not value it I will not cover it for $100,000, because what that means is that, things depreciate and material costs go up and go up. They never come down really. So assuming this future event comes and you value and you covered it for the penny to penny of what you spent in building it, at the time that danger comes, that value will no longer cover and bring you your house back. But if you are able to give the future value, then when the issue happens, you can get your house back. All right. And sometimes the property insurance doesn't cover the main house, sometimes even the fence wall. So for example, we have a client who just joined these recent rains, had her fence wall broken. She calls me and is like, oh, look at, she sends me a video, always in total distress. I'm like, Charlie, calm down. What is happening? And my fence wall is broken and my dogs, I can't release the dogs because they'll go and harm the neighbors. I'm like, okay, your property is insured, is it not? She said, yes. I asked her, have you called your insurance agent? She said no. And she's like, oh, will they come? I'm like, yeah, they are supposed to come. So call them and let me know what they have to say. They called them, they contacted us, we gave them the value of reconstructing the fence wall. We sent it to them, they paid, the fence wall has come back up without wahala. And this woman is in a retirement. So, I mean, can you imagine? Where is she going to get the money to reconstruct the fence wall she did 20 years ago, right? So please, whenever you build a property, design, construction, your maintenance culture, and please again, insure the property. The premium you pay is way less than the value of the property you are protecting, all right? Please, I don't work with enterprise insurance. I'm just a built environment practitioner, and I know the value of protecting your assets, all right? So thank you very much. This is what I have to say. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm still on the call. I haven't left yet. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. That was such an insightful and informative presentation. We are very grateful. We have a few questions here, but let me tell you what I have taken from your presentation. And I know the meaning of Jolu and the fact that we are all lost there, somewhere in the river. And then also, I know what to look out for. I know most of our audience, or if not most, some of them will still be looking at buying land. And I know what we should look out for when we want to buy land. Very nice to hear that. Okay, we have a few comments and questions from our listeners. Someone says, is the water level you are speaking of something everyone must know, or only the experts can tell? That's from Kweku Tweet. Kweku Tweet. Thank you, Kweku, for your question. So, Karen.
Okay. Yes. So these water levels, one of the points I made was that so when you are going to buy the land, look at the neighborhood, right? And if you are able to, if you notice these the baselines, you can tell. Sometimes it's even safe just to lift the building at least 2 feet minimum off the ground, minimum 2 feet, right? Lift your building minimum 2 feet off the ground. Because and when I say 2 feet off the ground, I mean off the ground of your pavements, your finished pavement level,
Okay.
not the raw ground as in where you went and there was grass and everything. No, off your finished floor or your finished ground level. Your house or the interior of your house should be 600 minimum off that pavement level. Okay,
Okay.
so when you are building, what you can do is that you can go to the AMA or the highways, and then they can give you the finished road level. All right, they can, or your surveyor can help you with it, the finished road level. Once you establish the finished road level, then that is where you start your building from. In fact, that's where you start your compound from. Because if you don't take that in consideration, you think that, oh, the road will never be done. And then later the road is done and the road goes above your house. When it rains, it's coming straight to you, right? So first establish the road level and then you start building from there. So your compound should be higher than the road level, and then your house itself, the footprint of your building itself, should be at least 2 feet above your compound. Of
Okay.
course, if you have a basement, it's a different story. And even there are even ways of treating basements. But I'm talking about a regular house that doesn't have a basement and all of those things.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know because I was going to ask that actually, but you have clarified it. So we must look out for what the finished road level will be
Exactly.
before we
Yeah.
determine the, I don't know if it's the heights or where our building should start from.
Yeah.
Okay. So the
And
next
and
question.
sometimes these things like can feel very daunting for someone who is not in the built environment space. Okay. But it's not a difficult thing once you have the right professional you are dealing with. Okay,
Okay.
but please try not to skip it. You are better off building your house and having it at a right height, so that even when the road is done, even when you have handed over your property to your child and the road is done, they don't end up facing that problem. You get it? So
Okay.
just get a surveyor and just do a little more just to save you for the future.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that. So, for lack of information, my people perish. You do want to seek information before we go ahead.
Yes, yes.
Gilbert Jerry says, does the insurance protect your concrete roofing from rain damages resulting in leakages? I think I'll let Clement answer that for us. It says, does the insurance protect your concrete roofing from rain damages resulting from leakages? Clement, please take that for us.
Right. Thank you so much. So from leakages, leakage more often is considered as a gradual event, and your insurance would ordinarily pay for sudden, unforeseen, accidental damage. However, if for one reason or the other, we are able to establish that the leakage was as a result of one incident or an occurrence. There was a very heavy rains. and then it's because of the terrains of the floods, it takes out parts of your concrete. Then the insurance company would come in to settle.
Okay, okay. So it goes to say that we should also be looking at maintaining our homes, not just saying that, okay, there's insurance. So even if you see a little leak there, you leave it there. We have to keep it in a good state. And someone is asking, I don't know if we can give that. It says, where are the best places to live in Accra for anyone looking to build or buy? This is Josephine Asantowa. So, Karen, since you are in the built environment, probably you can help us a bit with a few suggestions.
Okay, if I had been asked this question a year ago, I would have been very confident in answering this question. But now
Exactly.
with areas like Tema and cantonment also flooding, really, I don't know where to suggest. But I mean,
Mm.
like even in a place like Tema, which is where I live, places like Community 10 in Tema, we still don't see floods. Community 10,
Mm.
11, 12, we still don't see floods. Maybe places in the mountains.
Mhm.
Honestly, the higher elevated places, but low lying areas, I'd rather stay away.
I know, right? Because we are not being responsible collectively. Somebody is
Yeah,
building in the waterway and we look on and we can't say anything and it goes on
yeah,
and on and on. So
yeah,
the good areas are now also joining the bad areas.
exactly.
Okay, so someone says if the area is now developing and there's no drainage or gutters, how best can you divert floods? Or how best can you divert water from actually
From
taking over your
coming into
yeah,
your property. Okay,
yeah.
so like I said, if the area is now developing, so what that means is that you don't have your road yet. So you don't know how high it's going to come. So one of like I mentioned earlier, try and get your surveyor to help you determine the road level, and then lift your building up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the first. So listen, don't finish building and now you are trying to do damage control. If you are now going to build, then do the right thing from the beginning. Then whatever damage control interventions becomes a plus, right? But if you go and you build as you're building as low as close to the ground as possible because you are trying to save on a few trips of hardcore filling or laterite, then there isn't much that anybody can do to help, right? So first, get the road level established, lift your building off at least 150, like half a foot from the road level, and then on and on it goes. So with that, before the road comes, people will think that, oh, na mami ade na one money there needs to gidi gidi say, but they don't know what you are doing. Only
Yeah.
when the road is done before they realize the wisdom in what you have done, right? So please just get your datum or your road level done, and then you build up from there. And if it happens that your property is on the side where the road is sloping towards you, okay, what you can do is that you can do a drainage. So first point of call is the road itself should have its own gutter. All right. There's usually an offset from the road to your fence wall. Now, at the boundary of your property, where your entrance gate is for your car and things like that, have a secondary drainage there, so that even if the water crosses the gutter by the road and is coming into your property, you have a secondary catchment level.
Okay.
Okay. And if you feel very threatened, you can do a little ramp before you enter your property. So those are three different ways you can use to um, protect your land. And then you also look at the sloping on your own compound, right? You slope your place away from the building.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you. I think that most of the questions will fall off after Clement's presentation so that we are zooming into insurance. She mentioned about somebody she knows suffering a flood risk. I've also been a victim, and I was very much indemnified because I had insurance cover. So it's very, very real, and insurance does pay. So let's
Yeah.
take note. Clement, we would invite you now. Please let us know what you have for us today briefly. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we'll be talking more of floods, property damage, and then insurance. I'm very grateful to Karen for the introduction, and I hope I'll be able to provide more insights as we proceed with it. So basically, we'll talk about the flood risk and then why you need financial protection for floods, and then the building and content protection, additional protection benefits that your insurance provides, and then also practical steps as a homeowner you need to take before and then when there is or when the flood occurs or such a peril should trigger, and then provide a real life scenario on what it is that floods can cause damage to. We're going to compare with someone who doesn't have insurance. Right. So, like I said earlier, insurance actually is a risk transfer mechanism where you would, after you've assessed your risks, you are in the neighborhood, you're not very certain, like how Karen was saying previously, like last year you bought a property or you bought a land you've built, you don't know how the rains are going to affect your building. So you want to transfer this financial risk to an insurance company. And the floods, for the sake of today's presentation, I would focus on flood damage than the entire insurance package, which is the homeowners insurance, which this particular discussion is being circled around, as well as any other commercial insurance products for your property. So, like I was saying, physical damage would constitute or would include damage to the building and then the structure. And if we say the building, some other components of the building are classified as part of the building, which includes the wall, the pavement, your garage, outbuildings, and then the likes. However, it is very, very necessary that for every property you have in your house, you should list them when you're doing your insurance. So if you have an outhouse, you should be able to provide a value for it. If you have well-paved compound, you should be able to quantify it and then insure it as such. Else, insurance would assume a limit for, or your insurance will assume a limit for that particular part of your building. So it's very, very important that as you're building, you take note of your receipts, of the cost of certain items so that you'll be able to insure adequately. Now, household content, which is part of your building or part of your property, or the building's content would be your personal belongings, and as well as belongings that occupants of the household are entitled to, as well as if it's a commercial building, also you as the owner of a commercial building, the contents therein, as well as fixtures and then fittings. Ordinarily, fixtures and fittings would fall under the building, where like your lights, some fixtures that comes with putting up a standard building. However, in this age where smart homes are coming with a lot of mechanical stuff being put into the building, it's more of increases the value of your building, and the traditional insurance would assume that it is a standard building. So if you have anything, like I said earlier, that is of financial, that has value, you would want to declare adequately. And then for your financial impact when floods happen, that would be the cost that you have to bear, one, to repair, to reinstate, Also, insurance will provide you temporary relocation, but that is also, like I said, you need to request for that extension to be provided, as well as a loss of use of that building or that house whilst you are not occupying it. Let's say you are a landlord, you've rented out your apartments to their tenants. There is floods that affected the building. Occupying it is very difficult. You lose some rents whilst you are doing renovation, and all these are available for your insurers to provide you cover for, as well as third-party liability exposure is also embedded in your policy. Now, a takeaway for this is that insurance transfers these costs. So turn this unpredictable floods into financial cover so that in the event of a flood, you know that you can sleep and your insurance will take over. Right. So you would need a comprehensive protection solution for your household or for your building. Now, like I was saying, there are perils that your insurance company or your insurance product will cover. One, floods, earthquake, routes, civil commotion, fire, lightning, explosion, windstorm, tornado, malicious damage, go on and on and on and on. However, all these perils are clearly stated in the insurance policy, and it will be of good that you would note what the perils are, familiarize yourself with what the perils are, and what would be the cover for you on that. Now, for your content protection, your belongings would be the furniture, the household goods, your personal possessions, your kitchen stuff, and the likes. Right. So protection then goes beyond just repairing the building actually, and your insurance policy, like what enterprise insurance is going to offer to you, provides you additional benefits. Should you request for it, it's going to be added to it. Although there are basic covers, but they have limits on it. So you need to request for these extensions. Right now, insurance is not on the shelf. It is customized. You want to customize your insurance based on your risk exposure, based on your risk appetite. So alternative accommodation and loss of rent, like I said earlier, is provided, where you have about 6 months of cover for alternative accommodation, and then loss of rental income where you are a landlord, like I said earlier. Now, as a property owner also, you would have property owner's liability, which would be accidental bodily injury and then to third parties, and then accidental damage to third party property when there is an event. Now, there is a personal accident protection also that comes with a household or homeowners insurance that you can explore to enjoy those benefits. When you are insuring your property, or you want to seek insurance for your property, like Karen was saying, you need to know the value of the building, and not just the current, not just how much you think it is, but then it should be realistic. You'd have to value, like Karen was saying. So understand your cover. First, you need to understand your cover, and then confirm flood is included in your policy. Now, the reason for this point is that there are locations within Accra or within certain environments that are classified as flood-prone areas. And insurers, because it's a certainty, mind you, I said insurance is for the unforeseen. So if it is an uncertainty, insurance would not cover for that. So you want to find out from your insurance company if they provide flood cover for X location. And then also you need to review your exclusions and then the excess on your policy. The excess is the percentage of the insurance, the sums insured that you would bear should any claim arise. And then insure adequately, like I've said earlier, as well as the contents that you insure, you need to list them out, and then you should be able to keep receipts also, especially for items, for lump some insurance for your content, you need to provide invoices or keep invoices so that when there's a loss, you'll be able to prove the value of those items. And then reduce your risks by maintaining your drainage. You have to fix leakage. If you realize that there is leakage in your house, please don't wait for the raining season for the rains to affect your building. Let me give an example. If your building is leaking and there is a heavy rain and it gets to cause further damage to a property, if insurers are able to establish that at the time of that particular rain, there was an existing leakage and the property had already undergone some sort of deterioration, definitely insurers would not be liable for that because it is a gradual event that caused that damage. And then also when there is a claim, please, immediately there is a loss, don't wait. Immediately there is a loss. Thank God nowadays we have phones available, unlike previously where you have to go and hire a cameraman to come and take pictures for you. You have your phone. Please take pictures, take video as much as possible, and even goes beyond just householders. Any insurer or any insurance claim at all, take adequate pictures and provide us evidence of the occurrence of that loss. And then document the damage that you have, and then also keep receipts, like I've been saying earlier. Sorry. So there's a scenario I want us to go through whilst I bring this presentation to an end. So there are two people. Now, Mr. A is without flood cover, and then Mr. B has an insurance cover from Enterprise Insurance. So overnight there is a downpour of rains, very heavy rains. And then these two people will be faced with the same scenario. We are on the same street. So the A without a cover would have to do the repairs entirely from his pocket. He has nowhere to stay immediately after the floods or during the cleanup of the place. And then his belongings replacement would also come from his expenses or his own expenses, as well as recovery stretches on for months. So when it rains and then it's heavy rains, your place is flooded and you don't have insurance cover to help you financially, and then you don't have any budget for such unforeseen circumstances, it can linger for a very long time before you're able to recover from it. Secondly, the person with the insurance cover from Enterprise Insurance will get to be paid for the repair of the building, would be provided with alternative accommodation arrangements, and then contents will be replaced at full value, and then his home and then his finances will recover quickly. Yes, there are times that you would have to bear certain cost for you to be able to live within that place or put certain things or not cause further damage. However, the insurance company will come inside to settle everything that you've given cover for. They've given cover for. So the bottom line is you're on the same street, it's the same floods that will occur, but mind you, there's only one difference, and the difference is an adequate insurance cover for that loss or for that water that would rise. Right. So to end, I have a quote that I'd like us to ponder about. It says, "Floods are unpredictable, but financial preparedness is within your control. A combination of risk reduction and appropriate insurance protection gives homeowners the confidence to recover and rebuild." Thank you very much, Ohiniwa, for having me. Any questions?
Thank you, Clement. Thank you so much, Clement. You have summarized it for us, and now we know that there is the risk of flooding, and so we must be prepared for it at any time. Okay, and we also know that beyond flooding, we have other perils or other risks that your home insurance will cover, like burst pipes, the storms that comes with the rains, there's fire, there's riots, malicious damage to your home, All of those ones are stuff that we need to be aware of that are covered under your home insurance. Again, most importantly, not everyone may own a building. Not all of us may own the building. But what we do know is that your contents can also be covered. So if you don't have to own the building to have a home insurance in place. If you are renting and there's a flood that damages your items in the building, what are you falling on? So I want to pause and bring the discussions home. Most of us don't think about our contents as an asset. We think that, oh, but let's run through a quick mental exercise together. So think about your living room alone. You have your television, your sound system, your furniture, your kitchen, fridge, microwave, everything in there, washing machine if you have. You go to your bedroom, we are looking at your wardrobe, everything in it for your family, not just yours, your laptop, jewelry, all of those ones. We are looking at between 30,000 to 100,000. Would you rate that without a cover? Would you say because so you can lose about 100,000 just in a split second? Would you want to do that? We have insurance for you to cover for that. And it will surprise you to know how very cheap a home insurance or a content cover is, even compared to your regular vehicle insurance. So it's very, very, very important to consider that now. So we'll take a few questions from the page. We have, first of all, we have one from Prince. It says, Prince Dakwa 3060 says, if I am renting a shop or warehouse, can I insure my goods and equipment against flood damage, even though I do not own the building? So I've just started answering it, but can I just close it for us? If I'm renting a warehouse or a shop, can I cover the goods in there and my equipment without owning the building?
Right. So you can actually cover those. However, the building in itself, depending on the agreement you have with the landlord. So insurers would want to concern themselves with your insurable interest. Should this property go bad or get damaged, is there a liability on you? So if aside floods, let's say fire, if your operations may be able to cause or can cause damage to the building, you can also have an agreement with your landlord to insure the building. However, you may want to also find out from your landlord if that same property has been insured by another insurer. Else, when there is a loss, the two insurance companies would have to step in to settle it as one. Yeah. So you can, but you need to disclose when you are insuring.
Yes. So yes, you can insure contents both at home and in commercial property, even if you do not own the building. And the next question from TV Mike says, can I insure a rented property that I live in? So yes, that's what we just mentioned. If you have an insurable interest or pay your contract with the property owner, if there's a loss and you need to commit financially to it, then yes, you can disclose that and an insurance can be arranged for you. Thank you for that question. Another one says, the drains, Josephine Botti, the drains are getting so choked with rubbish, sand, and the water will definitely come into our spaces. We need to be more intentional in distilling periodically. Thank you so much, Josephine Botte, for that comment. This is communal labor. This is looking out for each other. So as a community, you make sure that we are doing that from time and time again. Then F Donko 1 says, where in Spintex would you recommend to get a housing accommodation? I think Karen just mentioned that lately it's difficult to recommend because someone has built at where they're not supposed to build. So you may not be able to give a good recommendation. Tomorrow it may be flooding. So we'll need to do each case and its own merit. You need to do some investigations before you commit to them. Thank you very much. Someone says, I think you should consider a broker. One, yes, we have insurance brokers as our partners. If you need to consult an insurance broker, yes, you can do that. And Doris Boatin says she's one. You can always reach out to them. And then Sakrod. Sorry if I'm getting your handle wrong. Sakrod says, does the insurance cover myself and the house if I insure my home? Okay, if I understand your question, Sakrod, you're asking if the insurance covers you as a person. Home insurance policy will not give you a specific cover as a person. We have what we call personal accident cover. So that could be taken to augment your home insurance policy. What we have as a free benefit on a home insurance policy is just something minimal that goes as a given. But if you need to get a good cover for yourself, because yes, a flood or any fire situation can happen to your house, that will affect you personally, injuries or whatever. And you can take a personal accident cover to be able to cover that. The next question from Gilbert Kuchienyo says, do you need a property valuation report before filing a claim? Should there be a damage? Clemens, please take that for us. Do you need a property valuation report before filing a claim? Should there be a damage?
You would not necessarily need that. However, you would need an estimator of a QS to provide you with quantities if it affects the building, and then if it's about the content, you would also need to provide receipts, like I said earlier, of the cost of the item, so that insurers would be able to settle based on that. However, insurers also would want to concern themselves with the current value of that asset and that item, and then how to reinstate it. Remind you, insurance is indemnity. So indemnity is at the time of the loss, just before the loss occurrence, what was the value of that property? It is good you insure adequately. That insurers would want to find out that at the time of the loss, how much was that property, and then adjust the claim accordingly. So basically, you will not necessarily need a valuation report at the time of a claim. However, a valuation report is required when you are going to when you're going to take a cover, so that you'll be able to insure adequately. Thank you.
Okay, so on that note, Josephine Botte is asking again, if the receipt gets damaged in the flood or fire, what happens? If the receipt gets damaged in the flood or fire, what happens? If I should try to comment on that. Yes, there could be an incident where you would lose all your evidences because of these incidents. So that's why when you are doing a home insurance and we are actually engaging on it, we advise you to have a list that will correspond to some values. So that if you are saying your television is 7,000 cedis, for instance, it's good for us to have that inventory with the corresponding value, so that if we lose the receipts or the invoices or whatnot, there's something to fall on. It doesn't become a banter between you and the insurance company. You have pre-stated it on your policy that your furniture is X amount, your television is X amount. So that's why we advise that when you are taking a home insurance policy. Thank you for that.
So to add to that, before the next question, insurers also, like I said earlier, would look on the market for the adequacy of or for a value.
Yeah.
However, the insurance company will not provide you with an estimate, but you would have to go get an estimate from a reputable company and then put in your claim.
Okay. All right. There's a last question from our audience that says, can I take insurance if my area floods? Can I take insurance if my area floods? Clement, please help us with that.
This question, it's great. Right. So, can I take insurance if my area floods? You can. However, if the insurance company knows very well that this is a flood-prone area, and the insurance company can actually decline to providing you with cover. However, if cover has already been provided and there is a claim, if cover has already been provided and there is a claim, the insurance company, having to know at the time of a claim that this is a flood-prone area, cannot decline the claim. They will have to settle it. So yes, you can, but the insurance company may decline to provide you cover if they are aware that the place is flattened. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Someone is asking also, is there going to be guidance on the valuation of your building or your property, or you'd have to do it personally? Yes, for that one, if you want to get it right, you can employ the services of a valuer. However, if you have your own facts about what your building actually costs, then you can just mention the value to us, and then we'll look at the market values and see if it works out perfectly. Again, one risk of insurance is you don't have to underinsure. So you do not have to mention a lower value just because you don't want to pay much. If there's a claim, it will come back to bite you. So we always advise that you give us the right news so that when you are being reinstated, you'll be reinstated right. Okay, so Alpha Insurance Brokers is here with us. They are listening and viewing. They are saying if you need to consult on insurance, you can always reach out. Doris Watson, thank you for that. We would like to, Karen, do you have some few comments for us before we wrap up? Karen.
Hello. Yes, I'm here. I want to just chip in a little on the last question that was asked about the evaluation. So
Okay.
sometimes, basically, even if you go to a valuer, what they will ask you will be whether you have a floor plan, the finishes that were used in building or finishing the project, and so on and so forth. So even when you finish building the property, don't throw away your blueprints. All right. And it's better if you can also have it in soft copy, so that when things like these come up, all you have to do is just email it to whoever with the valuer, and then they are good to go. But if you so usually as architects, when we finish our designs, we give the client 4 copies, all right, for your permit and so on and so forth. So you are supposed to keep a set, and you give a set to those on site, but as the owner of the property, you also keep a set. And that set, your architects can easily give you a soft copy of that, so that when the need arises for you to do valuation, you don't now have to go and call people to come and take measurements. You already have the drawings with all the measurements, and it's easier for your valuer to do his job.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. Clement, before you give us your final comments, I have a question for you. How soon does enterprise insurance pay when there's a flat claim?
How soon? Like yesterday. Right. So enterprise insurance, what we always pride ourselves with is payment of claims. It's on our lips every day. And when there is a loss, all that you need is provide us with the notify us of the claim, documents that are requested, provide them, and then as soon as possible we'll get it settled. Give and take, if everything is ready within a very reasonable time, we'll be able to settle the claim. And like I said, there are the number of the claims that we handle every day. Our engineers are available to conduct assessments to help you also with what's actually damaged. There are instances where even what is damaged when not listed, engineers can point out, and then the insurance company would adequately pay for that. So fast is as yesterday.
Thank you very much. Enterprise pays fast as yesterday because we are in the business of paying your claim. You matter to us. So we'll pay your claim as soon as possible. The final comments, a few comments from you, Clement, before we leave.
Right. Thank you so much. Like we say at Enterprise, it's your advantage. Enterprise insurance provides you the advantage that the other person on the street would not have. Take insurance cover, and when there is a loss, you would never regret having insurance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clement. Thank you so much, our wonderful audience and listeners. Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. You've given us so much insight. Thank you, Clement, our in-house resource person. This has been a powerful and very practical and very, very timely conversation. And I hope everyone watching feels more informed and more empowered than we did an hour ago or an hour and a few minutes ago. Here's what I want to leave you with. The next flood, the next fire, the next best pipe, we don't know when it will happen. God forbid anyway. But what if, God forbid, actually happens? Even the Bible says faith without works or action is vain. So then the difference between a family that recovers quickly and one that is left in a very difficult situation often comes down to the one decision that is made when there is calm, it's an ordinary day, nothing is happening. And that's a decision to take a home and contents or home or content insurance policy. Home and content insurance from enterprise insurance is available, it's accessible, and it is very, very affordable. Someone may be thinking, watching and thinking that I can't pay. No, it's very, very affordable. It is too affordable to even imagine. So just come over. Visit enterpriseinsurance.com.th or call us on WhatsApp. I'll give you one of our contact numbers, 020-495-4801. Reach out, let's start talking, let's walk into protecting what matters most to you. You can also send us a message right here in the comments. The conversation still continues and we'll respond to you directly. We are Enterprise Insurance, your advantage. And this has been the Smart Talk webinar. Stay protected in this rainy season and see you next time. Thank you so much for joining. Meanwhile, if you found this session very useful, please keep on sharing the link to your friends and family members so that everyone who owns or occupies a house will have the enterprise insurance advantage. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
And Garner drives it forward. Brilliant footwork down the flank, cutting past the defence with ease. He's lining up for the shot. He strikes it with absolute power. Oh, goodness me, that has gone high, way too high. It's climbing and climbing. Unbelievable scenes here. You simply cannot write a script like this. He shot the ball right out of the atmosphere. Can you believe it?
Insurance for your car and home, you can call on us.
Wait, it's coming back. It's re-entering orbit. Re-entry confirmed. And he finishes it on the volley. Strike! Goal! What a strike! Right
Enterprise, your advantage.